the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Jana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
She was told that she couldn't play with the boys. She was told that they were too big, too rough, too strong. She was told to give up her dreams and move on. She was told to just be pretty, be quiet, be a lady. She was told that women had to stay on their side of the court, stay in your lane. Playing and competing with men was insane. She was told that men and women would never be equal. Dreaming like that would only be linked to your mind, to your soul. She never listened. She knew that their thinking was old. She is magic. She is the definition of spirit. She is what champions are made of. She is now.
Greetings and welcome to Access Wealth Nation with Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse on the Soul City Network and of course on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem, the soul of Harlem. And we're here to share with you tonight another night of getting your checkup financially from the neck up and becoming more financially astute. These are the times we have Black History Month. And it is a time of when we can share more and more information, and especially culturally, so that we understand where we have a place in this world, in the financial service world, especially. So what I would say is, of course, to start off, we have the book that is the educational book. I hope you can see it. It's How Money Works. Stop Being a Sucker. It's funny. I was talking to a few people who have had the book for a little while, and it was cute how a couple of them, they weren't all related in any way, shape, or form. They just said, I need to share this money book, how stuff works, how my finances are going to get better book. So it's How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. And you know, there's some explanation to why they call us suckers, and we'll probably go through that a little bit in our next show. But what I would say is that if you want the book, you have an opportunity to just send me an email. And some of you have. I'm glad that you're patient because we're trying to get this mail out while tax season is going on, while investments, the market's going up and down. And so we're trying to get everything done. Please be patient, but we do want to meet with you. And I'm so glad that some of you have taken the opportunities to come and talk to us at the Anaj Enterprises office. But if you send an email to Anaj Enterprises Inc. at gmail.com and just make sure I have your address. And also let me know how many books you really want, because some people want to share it with their children. And it's no need for you to send 3 and 4. I can send them all to, 3 emails. You could send it. Yes, it's free 99 with no obligation of doing anything with us. But I think the knowledge is power. Matter of fact, I know knowledge is power. And to know better, we will do better. So please take this opportunity and get the How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker book. Now, also, I just like to make an announcement. The book is also translated in Spanish. So for my Latino friends and family, I would love to say, because some of you really need to have it in Spanish, and we have taken painstaking uh, uh, time to make sure that the Spanish version is just as powerful as the English version. And then we'll go to our Asian brothers and sisters next. So hopefully at some point, because I took the time in college to study French, I'd like to see that the book comes out in French too, especially for my Haitian and some of the Caribbean brothers and sisters. But that being said, also we have the opportunity for you, especially after you've read the book, to do what we call a discovery call to find out where you are and where you'd like to be. And in doing so, we give a free financial analysis of your financial status. No obligation. You do not have to do business with us. But for the free financial analysis, all you got to do is call my office. I have trained some wonderful people to be able to serve you, and it's totally private because we are bonded. So therefore, we're not going to go around telling about your business. Okay. 646-375-2121. Please take the time and you make the call. And if you don't get an answer right away, please leave a message. My team is phenomenal. They will get back to you and make sure that you get serviced. But it is a free financial analysis. I truly believe that if you know better, you'll do better. But if you have a plan, then you know you're not planning to fail because you have some kind of structure. If you don't have a plan, then 9 times out of 10, you're sort of putting yourself in a position to fail. We don't want that. And so what I say to you is take the opportunities of what we're offering. You know, I know many people some may think, well, what's in it for them? You know what it is? I have been in the industry for really, as an accountant, and bought my business when I was 19. I've been in the industry now 44 years. And so I've been blessed. And it's about time I give back. And I see the urgency. I remember my marketing professor said it so well. When you find a problem, you find the solution and see what you can do to help people. Really, what he said was to see and get them to pay you for it. But that will come along the long lines. We don't necessarily get paid for us helping individuals, but if we do utilize some of the services that we have, and if you do, then yes, there may be a fee. But this is tax season, so we're in the midst. It's happening, and I'm noticing folks are going and trying to file as early as possible, which was instructed by the IRS. Warning, warning, warning. Please make sure you have all your documents, because if you don't, and you decide that you notice that you're missing documents, especially those that have income with them, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Your return is going to be filed. It will be processed. And then you come up with some documents that need to be added. That's going to cost you more money because you're going to have to do something that's called an amendment, which means you have to make the changes because you must report all your income. And 2, you want to claim all your deductions. It's that simple. So take your time. Make sure you look at your old tax return from last year and see, what did you enter? Did you have unemployment? Did you have a job that maybe you lost, but now you may have it back? You know, so you need to get the W-2s for that. You might have some investments that you've had that you forgot about, or you didn't go, like many of people, it's robo investing. Like you have Betterment and what's the others out there? Robinhood, Acorn. You know, you have to draw off your 1099 from there if you've been trading. If you are involved in cryptocurrency, it is mandatory that you take that time and add what you bought with and how much that you went to sold whatever the cryptocurrency was, the virtual coins currency was. And if you are dealing with virtual currency, please tell the person preparing your taxes and report it. It is something that you can't avoid these days. It is necessary. And tell the truth. It's better to tell the truth and deal with it than to say, I forgot it and don't. It's not worth it. So, again, we're at this stage. And again, this is Black History Month. And I'd like to highlight this time a shero that's in the financial service industry. So, we bring up the slides of our shero. Okay. Um, that's okay. I'm going to make the announcement. The announcement is Patricia Roberts Harris. Now, I'm wondering if y'all know who she is or who she was. Very powerful woman, near and dear to me, because as I went to Fordham University and in 1980, she had served as the ambassador of the United States. She had served as the secretary to the cabinet, and then she also um, had been the first, and these are all first African American women to be. You know, we talk about our first. We need to just talk about everybody who's been involved because it's really difficult. But she's done all of that. But also, she was the first African American woman to serve on the board of directors of a Fortune 500 company. Patricia Roberts Harris. Powerful. But in 1980, where I was heading with that is that I had the honor to meet her because that was my graduating class. Yes, I'm telling on myself so bad, but that was my graduation class. And at Fordham University, it was the largest group of African American women to graduate from Fordham University. And we proudly stood with our hands risen to have her as our keynote speaker. This is a phenomenal woman. She has done so much in our community, touched so many levels. And you need to know and have your children look her up. And that not only the children, but have you go look her up. It's powerful. And by chance, I'm going to hopefully that my producers will put up the picture of her and share it with you. Okay, we'll continue. We'll probably have it at the end, but just remember, Patricia Roberts Harris, a shero in African history, and again in African Americans in finance. So next, there she is. I was hoping that would happen, and this is all her accolades of what she has done, and the world of finance and making a difference in our world. We need to salute her. So next, we're going to go forward to our, I told you I would always have someone that would be acknowledged. And next, we're going to talk about something near and dear to me is how we have our investments. There's different ways. Did you know that you can invest? And so in that, there's 3 different ways by which investments are usually categorized. So if we have the 3 different ways happen to be, can we make that a little bigger? Is we have tax now, we can do tax later, and then there's tax never. Now, this is something that we have to think about is the impact of taxes on our investments. So those of you who are randomly not sitting with a financial advisor, which I think is a grave mistake, there are always financial advisors that are out here who are willing to sit with you. Not everyone. Some of them are looking for how much money you have, and they have minimums, but you can even call my office and someone will help. In addition to it, it's a need for financial advisors, especially of color in this day and age, because we still represent about 1% of the industry. So if people are interested in being mentored, give me a call, 646-375-2121. Let's talk about the impact of taxes. And it's the best way, and this slide shares it with you, is let's say we are all farmers, okay? And we invest our money and build up, and we want to start to build and make our business even bigger. Let's say that's happening, right? Now, think about it from a tax point of view. When we start our farm, would we want to pay taxes on the seed, or would we like to pay taxes on the harvest? Now, I've had some presentations and people have jumped up and said, I want to pay on the harvest. Okay, let me say this. No. Okay. The seed is much less. The harvest is going to be bushels and bushels and bushels. And you want to pay on the least amount. Why? Because I don't mind giving Uncle Sam money and what's due in taxes. I just don't want to give too much. And so, in these three ways of paying taxes on our investments, we've got to take a look. These are the three ways. As I said, tax now, tax later, and tax never. Let's look at the tax now. What does that include? That means taxes are paid on the interest, the earnings, and the dividends, okay, on every year that you grow, every year that the money is growing, you're going to pay taxes now. So every year. So, like, we're in the midst of tax season right now. And in that, we're, as you all have received, you'll receive a 1099, or you'll receive an interest 1099 INT, or a 1099 DIV, which is dividends, usually from bonds and investments. You get a 1099 INT, which is for interest, and it's usually the bank, or it could be some of the different types of investments you have. But the thing is, when you think about it, that means every year that you earn in the market or in your savings account, um, you are going to pay taxes on that money. Okay, so that means that growth now will be a little bit of a challenge. So I say to you, always think about, do I want to pay taxes now? And I'll be paying taxes every time my investment grows, and not just grows interest. I'm sorry, let's be specific about that. The interest on it, or the earnings, I'm going to pay taxes on it. Or do I want to pay taxes later? Now, the tax now, that means, like I said, that's your stocks, your bonds, your savings accounts, your CDs. Everybody has CDs, money market accounts, anything that's drawing interest or creating interest. That is what you will have to pay taxes on every year, and it gets added to your income. In this day and age, interest rate is so low, not much of an experience. Reversal, some of you have bonds, savings bonds, especially I know in our community, we have individuals who have savings bonds that they got when they were real little. And that was one of the biggest investments out there, and for our community. And the interest that you bear on that, yeah, you're going to have to pay taxes. Now, the good part is you don't have to pay taxes on the state level. It's excused, but you do have to pay it on the federal level. So you want to be careful, because we get to a certain age, and I mean, if you think about it, your parents bought you a savings bond back in the days, and now you want to cash it in. Note, remember the taxes, and note when you're taking the money out. That's one. That's tax now. Now let's talk about tax later. I like to talk about tax later. Tax later means I can get my money to grow continuously, and then until once I need it and I start to cash it in, and the taxes are basically going to be paid on the distribution, like in retirement. They're going to pay it later. So if you have a 401k plan, a 403b, a 457, I'm naming them things that you hear. These are all tax laws to tell you that you can put your money in to an investment from work, and then you can take it out later, but it's going to grow tax deferred, which means it's going to build up, and then you can take it out. So you're going to pay taxes later. The other thing about tax deferred, there's other things out there. Thrift savings plans, because some of you just know the name that you have on the job, so you're not sure how this applies. Your IRA plan. Okay, these are all the things that are taxed later. So as you're building and putting money into it, you build it, you don't have to pay taxes on it as it grows. But when you get ready to take it out, you got to pay the taxes on it. So that sort of goes towards our little farmer explanation, that you let it grow, you build it up, it's a little seed, it grows, and then now you got to pay taxes on it. Don't have to do that all the time, but those are the types of investments that would apply to. Also annuities, certain annuities that you will put money in, it will grow, and then when you take it out, you're paying tax. So Uncle Sam going to reign on it then at that point. Then we have something called the tax never plan. Tax never means that you don't have to pay taxes on the earnings or the distribution. Hmm. I'm sure some of you are saying, well, where do I get that? Where do I sign up for that? And that's something, it's not for everybody, but it does give you the opportunity to build your money. And as it's building, you don't pay taxes on it because it's taxed basically similar to the tax deferred world. But then comes the next level, which is as you're earning, at some point you'd like to take the money out. We're building, but you don't want to just leave it there. So that's called the tax-free distribution period. And you can take it out. Now, what kind of vehicles are those that do that? Mostly it's insurance products like an IUL, don't want to say the VUL, but a VUL could be one. You can also utilize annuities, but they have to have a certain type of annuity that wouldn't pay taxes. But the bigger one would be the cash value of a life insurance policy, tax-free bonds. Yeah, there's things called the tax-free bond, and I'll explain those. And then also Roth IRA. Those are the things that will allow you to get tax-free. So it means I put money in, it grows, and then when I get ready to take money out, I don't have to pay taxes. Oh, yes, definitely. Feel free to ask any questions. If you have a question, we're glad to open. Just put it in the chat. Thank you very much. So let's go through some of these investments. What do they mean? Because people, you hear things. Let's talk about the tax now. And I mentioned there were stocks and there's bonds, there's savings accounts. Most of y'all know what a savings account is. Money market, and those type of vehicles. So let's talk about that. What's a stock? A stock basically is an investment in a company. Okay. And if the company does well, you do well. If the company doesn't do as well, then at that point, you took a loss, okay, or may not have taken a loss. There's a thing called a realized loss or gain, and then it's something called an unrealized loss or gain. So a lot of people say, oh, I've made so much money in the market. You don't make it until you sell. You have an action. So remember that when you're talking about whether you've made money. I've listened to so many people talk about, I've made so much money, or I've lost so much money. That's another level. I lost the money. But until you sell and take that action, you haven't lost or gained. It's all a paper. It's on paper. So that's what happens when you buy a stock. You're investing in the company, and if the company does well, you do well. And if the company doesn't do so well, you don't do so well. Okay. I tell folks is that when you're dealing in investing in stock, you don't have to marry the stock. That means, and I preferably tell folks, don't marry it. Figure out when you've made a profit or when you're making a profit, and if you want to realize it from the unrealized to the realized. That's with a stock. The second thing is a bond. Okay, what's a bond? Believe it or not, a bond is a loan. And you're loaning the company, or in the case of the government, you're loaning the government money. In the case of a municipality in a bond, that means a city, you're loaning the money. And for that loan, they are going to guarantee that you get back your principal and get interest on it. Now, getting back your principal, the initial investment, may take a little time. Sometimes it's 5 years, 10 years, can be all the way up to 30 years, but they will give it back to you at that point. Now, during that time, you can have a situation of where you get what's called dividends. Those are the proceeds where the company is paying it out, or the government is paying out money for an interest to you. And for that, you got to pay taxes on that. Okay. And so that's a dividend coming off of the bond. So these are some of the things that are taxable to you that you need to be aware. The other thing is, of course, we have the savings account, the infamous savings account that's growing at the national average right now is about 0.05%. It was at some point 0.09, which was a little better, but at either rate, like a 0.09, it would take, and I'm sure you all have heard me talk about the rule of 72, that it will take almost 800 years at 0.09, and it's about 1400 years. Oh gosh, it'll be ridiculous how long it'll take for you to get your money out, or double. And that's the rule of 72. So in today's world, your interest is so low. I know some of you have heard it, seen it, and it's a reality. Some have accepted it. Some have moved to other types of ways to make money. Again, you need to sit with a financial advisor, because at that point, they can help you to find some of the vehicles that will help your money grow faster. But that being said, when you're dealing with the savings accounts, the banks, you've got to realize you have low interest, and most of the time it's conservative types of investing. But that doesn't stop you from going in, because we need the banks as well as we need the investment vehicles out here. But the interest rate is low. But as you get interest, and especially if it's over for the year, $10, it is mandatory for them to report it to IRS. So if they're reporting it to IRS, that means you got to pay taxes. You got to give that statement to your accountant, your tax consultant, or also even you got to log it into some of the robo types of tax preparation vehicles. That's what I wanted to say. So you have to really think about it from the standpoint, can I afford to grow my money? Because if I grow my money, then I have to pay taxes. There are certain people who look at it that way and say, oh, no, I don't need any more money because I don't want to pay any more taxes. That doesn't make sense either. You need your money to grow, and it needs to grow at a higher rate than inflation, which is now teetering around 6 and 7%, which is really, really high for us. Now, that's coming for someone who, when I started in the industry, inflation was like 14%, but also interest rates were at 14% too. So it balanced itself out. So inflation, just in case I threw that out at you and you haven't been on other shows, that means the rate that your money will grow at, and be the power of your money will be able to use your buying power. That's what I want to use, the term, your buying power. And we're having some serious challenges now. I was listening to a program, and the woman was saying that even buying, she wanted to buy chicken breast, that the chicken breast have gone up at least 17% so far in price. It's making it difficult for individuals to buy goods. And on top of it, with what's going on with Russia and China, it's difficult to even getting goods into our U.S. community. So just to put those things in the back of your head is that you've got to make your money grow faster. But in the process of it, if it's taxed now, you are going to wind up paying taxes on the money. So if you made 0.09% and you're in the 20% tax bracket, 20% of that is going back to Uncle Sam. Not a very pretty picture at all. Okay, so now we're going to move on to tax later. We're going to pay taxes later. We're going to let the money go in, and we either will get a write-off from our taxes on it, or we may just put the money in and let it grow. In most cases, like your 401k plan, your 403b, your 457, your 401k plan. I think I said that. And then you have your thrift savings plan. All of these plans, you put money in to them and it comes out of your paycheck. And by it coming out of your paycheck, it reduces your taxable earnings, which means that it reduces your tax liability. That's a good thing. Okay. But it's also growing while it grows. And hopefully, you do know how your money is growing and how it's invested. I know I've heard many of people say to me, I just don't know. I just put the money in and I hope because I don't know what this thing is doing. That's when you need to sit with a financial advisor. I know I'm like a broken record, but approach them and bring it. There may be something. Matter of fact, there are things that can be done so that you can get more knowledge on how your retirement money, because that's what mostly tax laters are, is your retirement money. And should know how it grows and how you can take possession to participate in the growth and where it goes. Okay. These are the things you need to think about. But with those programs, that's the good part. You put your money in, it reduces your taxable income. And then when you want to take it out, here comes the bad part. You got to pay taxes on it, you know. And if you take the money out before you're 59 and a half, then you also may pay a 10% penalty. So you have to be very careful. I know some of you have the ability at your job under those plans to take a loan. Here goes the warning. If something should happen where you lose the job and you have a loan out of those tax later programs, then you're going to have to pay it back right away. Be very careful, especially if you think your job is not stable. And the average job right now is a statistic I'll tell you. The average job, you last on it about 10 years. It is really good if you can spend that time, 30 years on the job and retire. We all would like you to be able to do that, but not all the time is that happening in our economy today. So just a warning. You need to be able to, if you take a loan, make sure you can pay it back in a shorter period of time. Number two is that if you're taking money out withdrawal, note that you should be at least 59 and a half so you don't get hit with an additional penalty, because it's a 10% penalty plus your tax bracket. The average person in this country right now is somewhere in the 20% tax bracket. So that means that if you take out $10,000, you're going to end up paying in taxes and penalties somewhere around $3,000. Think about it, whether it's worth it. Very important. Okay, so let's carry on. Let's say if you have an annuity, that's another type of vehicle to put a lump sum of money in and let it grow tax deferred. And then when you take the money out, it becomes taxable. So that also even adds to what they call a TSA, a thrift savings annuity, a thrift savings plan, a TSP. And so be very careful with these programs. These programs are set to truly prepare you for retirement income. Retirement. It is not one that you go in and take money out like an ATM machine. It's not that. You know, also the same thing happens with your pensions. But thank God, with many pensions, they allow you to take what's called a pension loan. And as long as you keep that job, that loan, you can pay it back, and therefore it builds back the accessibility to the account. So be very careful. Usually jobs allow you to take up to 2 pension loans. And then some people get into real tight situations, but just don't get loans and do things like, I got to go buy my car. You know, I want to have a big party for my birthday or something. No, this is your retirement money. So be very, very careful with it. But those are some of those tax later situations, very powerful, because you probably, would like to build a decent retirement. Why? Well, just to give you a heads up on building retirement income, the average individual should have a number. Okay, what's that all about? The number that you need to really retire. Some of you are of the age and were born in a period of where you will get and be eligible for Social Security. Some of you, we're not sure whether you will get any Social Security. It's because we're not sure if the program will last the same way. We hope it will. But the word and the voices on the hill are that it may change a bit. So you have to take control of your own retirement. There's something called the three-legged stool of retirement. It's your own savings. We talk about that in the tax now. And then it's also your retirement plan. You get, whatever you build, but also in the process of building that three-legged stool of retirement, one of the biggest things was the pension. And I'll tell you now, many jobs don't have pensions or they've closed it down and you can't participate. But the last one, the last but not least, is people rely upon the Social Security. Not there. And you have to deal with your own savings. So Social Security, your pensions, and your own savings. So you have to rely upon your own savings. In the process of it, you've got to think about it. How much do I need to have upon my retirement? Now, some people will say, I need to have $1 million. And the rule of thumb says that you should take whatever your retirement balance is that you have built up. You need to take 4%, at least 4%. That's the rule of 4% to take out of your retirement plan every year. So if you have $1 million, you're looking at 40% that you should take out, $40,000 that you should be able to take out every year of your retirement. Remember, if it's a tax later situation, Uncle Sam is going to be knocking on the door and you're going to pay taxes on it. I'll give you another tax tip. When you're dealing with the tax later money and you're at retirement, here comes the other little thing, and you're receiving Social Security, that money added to your Social Security can cause your Social Security to be taxed up to 85% more. Warning. So you've got to do some planning, because don't just like shoot in the wind. Pensions, those of you who are so blessed to have a pension, that's great. But pensions usually are about 50, maybe 60 if you're really in a good pension, percent of your income. Well, if you weren't living off of being able to live off 100% of your income, how are you going to live on 50%? Not going to work. So that's why you have to add to your retirement funding and hopefully some of those programs that you have available to you. And some people have said to me, I've heard you. How am I going to put away money and still live at a rate of decency in this country? How am I going to put away money? Just note that those programs do allow you to lower your tax bracket, so you're paying less in taxes. Now, some of you, I'm going to talk to you real personal. You got a bonus. If you get a bonus, add it to your retirement plan. Yes, I know you'd like to do other things, but if you get a bonus, you lived off of it without having it. How about putting that away? It will help you in your taxes. It's paying less, but also it will allow you to build that account with more money and stuff that you're not really going to miss. Okay, so just a thought, because I've heard that a few times already during tax season, and people are not putting away money. They're like, no, I'm going to use it. I got to put it away in my emergency fund. Well, think about it. If you have to borrow from your plans, your retirement plans, at least you know that you at that point, have the money to possibly put it back. Okay. But that's the tax later. Like I said, an annuity does the same thing. Anything that's different. Your IRA. Now, those of you who don't have pension plans, you have the opportunity to put money in an individual retirement account. You can put up to $6,000 if you're under 50 and $7,000 if you're over. You can put that away every year. And if you sit with a financial advisor, they can give you the amount that will be. There's so many calculators to help you to figure out how much that really will be. And the problem that I see that we have is we don't start young enough putting away. I had a client of mine who I loved his story. He worked for the city of New York. He was a school teacher, and someone told him to put away $100 a paycheck. That was a lot for him because he's up there in age now. And he put that money away continuously every paycheck. Well, lo and behold, in addition to his pension, he gets at least $80,000 a year in additional income. Yeah, he pays taxes on it because it's taxable. But think about it. Would you want the problem of not having enough money or having enough money and paying some taxes on it? Just think about those things, you know. And again, if I say anything that hits a nerve and you want to say something, please, let us know that you're out there, and that you're either feeling this and understanding it, or that you need a little extra help. Okay. But that's the tax later situation. And so in this respects to what's out here today, we got one more thing to talk about because time is coming close. So I want to be on schedule. We have the tax never. That's my favorite to talk about, and the least likely that people will do, but they need guidance with that. And so here we go with tax never. What are the vehicles for tax never? One has to do with municipal bonds. That means you're investing in the state or municipality or the state entities like the transit system, the bus system, the things like that, the hospitals. These are the nonprofits that you can invest in. And if that's a case that you do, most likely the interest will be tax free. There's also things called triple tax free. Very interesting. And triple tax free is also investing in municipals. But what it does is you don't have to pay, let me say triple, you can get paid no tax on the bonds that you are investing in, but also not only on the federal level, you don't have to pay taxes on the state and city level also. And I know for people who live in New York, that's music to their ears because we happen to be the highest tax state in the United States. We tried to stay below California. That didn't work. So we are the highest tax state in the United States. So the tax never becomes kind of attractive, especially for people who are getting less than 0.09% or 0.05. That's one place. The next tax never basically comes from your Roth IRA. Okay. What's a Roth IRA? That's similar to an individual retirement account, but with the Roth, which was a congressman who came up with this idea, you can put away the money and also do the catch up if you're over 50 years old. The only difference here is that you don't get to deduct that contribution from your income, so it doesn't lower your tax bracket. But you also don't have to pay taxes when you take the money out. If you hold it and put money in for the over and held for a 5-year period, because emergencies do come, you can take what you put in. You can't take the growth, but you can take the money that you put in out. If you put 6,000 in, 5 years later, you might need to take that money and use it for something. You can do that without paying the taxes on it. Okay, because that was money that you paid taxes on already. Who wants to be doubly taxed? You don't want to do that. And so they understand that. The beauty in it is that as you put that money in year after year after year in the Roth, then you turn 59 and a half or 70 years old or plus and need to take that money out. You no pay no tax. Okay, it's not taxable. That's a very powerful position, especially for individuals who are young. You're putting the money in, you're making some money. Parents, those of you who have businesses and you're going to have the child work in the business, what better gift you can give them is to take that bit of income, take a part of it. You don't take it all because they should see some fruits of their labor, but take a portion and put it in, have them put into a Roth IRA So this way they're building for their retirement. And it's simple. They say that really, if you want to have $1 million and you're in your 20s and you put away at least $100 a month, you can have $1 million. It's reality. And it's something you probably wouldn't miss. But that's my campaign for the Roth IRA is that you can take that money. And when you get ready for retirement, no tax, tax never. Very powerful. You also have the option for monies that you put into the plan. If you need it, you can take that money out. So that's it. That's one of the great. Now let's talk about the last but not least. Last but not least of the tax never group is an insurance policy. There's whole life insurance, and there's IULs, and there's all sorts of types of insurance products. But the beauty is the cash value, the things as you're putting money into the insurance policy, it grows. Now, some grow much slower than others. Some have certain guarantees, some don't. The bottom line of it, if cash value from a life insurance policy, as it grows, and it doesn't take forever, the first 10 years you probably will see the growth take place. You are allowed in a cash value policy, in most cases, to take out 90% of the cash value without any penalties. As long as you keep that policy live and liquid and not being terminated because you didn't pay enough into it. It has been used many a times in different things. There's a thing called a life insurance retirement plan. That's what it is. They take the cash value of the life insurance. And the other part to it is that when you use the cash value of the life insurance policies, two things can happen. One is if you take the money out, you know that you can pay it back. So as opposed to all the other investments I've talked about and the different types of strategies, this one, you can play catch up. You can add more money to it. So if you couldn't pay all the money in one year, you could add some to, when things get better. It's more like feast and famine. When I got a good time, I can add to it. When I don't have not, so I got only put a little bit in at a time. What an awesome way. It allows you to give some flexibility. Now, that doesn't necessarily happen with all the insurance policies. But again, when you sit with a financial advisor, they can recommend what you want. And that almost turns you into your own personal bank because you can borrow from yourself, pay it back. There is a little interest. It's usually low interest, but you can do that back and forth and take from yourself as opposed to going to a bank and asking for a loan. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be a wonderful gift that you would give a child that as they're growing up until they turn 18 or 21, into their majority, and they have this vehicle that they can work out of and use. I know many of people and cultures use that from the time the baby is born. I sort of kind of think that the way that they started in this world, in this country, giving babies social security numbers, that had something to do with it. Because if you think about it, people who have babies, if they didn't have a social security, they couldn't do an insurance policy. But today, they have their social security. You can do the insurance policy. You can start growing the cash value at age 0. Haven't even turned a year. That's a powerful position. But again, we don't expect to use the life insurance policy, of course, for the child's death, because we're not trying to kill off our children, of course. But there are some stipulations and some rules to how much coverage the child can have. And there's also some limitations to how much money can be put in for the child. But that all can be answered. This is just about concepts. Being able to leave a legacy to your children, your children's children, your children's 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 children, legacies. And I always speak about legacies because that's what we need to do in our community, build legacies. So I just want you to think about utilizing that concept of building cash value and then not being taxed on it. You want to get Uncle Sam out your pocket. That's one place to do it. And I think it's a very powerful position to be in. So these are the basic three ways that you can deal with your money. That's the best way to say it. Three ways to not necessarily avoid tax, but the three ways you can be taxed by Uncle Sam, and also your state and local level too. Don't leave them out. Some of you live in states that there's no tax in the state. Well, good luck. Y'all great. But for those of us in these states that have tax, this is one way that you can build assets, because this is what it's all about, building assets, putting ourselves in a position where we have our money growing for us. Like I said, the seed, you plant it, you put the money in and let it grow and keep it growing. But you don't want to pay taxes, not necessarily on, and technically, I want to say on the money as it's growing if you don't have to. And so think about how, and think about the different vehicles that I've spoke about today, that where do you want to put your money? Some stuff, the tax now may be something that you deal with to address your your 1 to 3 year goals. Your tax later, that might be something that you address for your long-term goals, 7, 8 years plus, when I'm getting ready to retire, way out 12 years, whatever. Put it in, plant the seed, forget about it. Keep planting the seed and forget about it. And then you have the tax nevers. That's sort of in between. It can be an intermediate thought, which is the 3 to 5 year period, or it can take you on to your later years. Right now, our government is discussing how you can keep your assets and not start drawing even Social Security till age 72. We're living longer. My answer to that is we're living longer. We probably need money, but also you're going to have to be in a position of what kind of lifestyle are you going to have. We want to have a loving, exciting, travel, healthy future. And the way to do it is one thing, not to be stressful about the money, because that's one thing that can honestly take you to levels of stress and dying young even. So that's what I have to offer. I hope this helps some people in their thoughts about how they invest their money, and the three ways that you can be taxed. Again, this is tax season, so my heart is in trying to educate you as much as possible about how your taxes are going to be affected, and how your investments affect your taxes. If you know better, you will do better. So that being said, I see I had no questions this year. Usually I have a few questions. It's okay. I will revert back to the fact that, we give tribute to our heroes and sheroes. And of course, today we gave tribute to Patricia Roberts Harris, which I think is a phenomenal woman. And yes, and as it says there, I'm sure it says yes, that she served the United States cabinet. She was the first to enter in the line of succession to the president. Everybody talks about Kamala, but Kamala didn't do the same as Patricia Harris. And in my thing that I thought she needed to be noted for, because many people don't understand the power of someone who's on the board of directors of a company, but not only a company, but a Fortune 500 company, a woman of color. And so we paid tribute to our shero today in Black History Month is to Patricia Roberts Harris. And so for those of you who want to move forward and get more information, I will say again, you get your How Money Works book. Don't stop being a sucker. Oh, I promised that I was going to tell you why being a sucker was the whole element of why they named it that. Ever go to a bank, look to the left of the teller, look to the right of the teller. Usually there's a little jar that's sitting there, a candy. And what the candies are, they're lollipops. They're called suckers also. So the bank doesn't have a problem telling you what they think about you. So that's the whole idea of being a sucker. Stop being a sucker. You walk up there, and you know what's interesting? They've started since this book came out 2 years ago. I think it's 2 years ago. They stopped with dum-dums in New York. I know for a fact they stopped at the dum-dums in the next to the tellers. So now they have just regular lollipops. But before that, they had the name right there, the dum-dums. Now the company that makes the dum-dums makes a lollipop also called Smartie. Wonder why they didn't put the Smarties up there. I guess because they don't think you're the Smartie. So that being said, I hope that made you laugh a little bit. But also, I hope it makes you work towards doing something where you become the one who knows and shares this information with everyone. And of course, coming back to our Access Wealth Nation every Thursday at 6 p.m. on the Soul City Network and also on WHCR 90.3 FM, the Soul of Harlem. And power is as great as the action that you take. I'm a poet and I know it. Okay, so you'll all be blessed. Stay safe. There's a lot of things happening in our country today. You know, work with your soul and your spirit before you make decisions of what you're going to do. If you want to take off your mask because they let you, then do so. But if your spirit says, no, I want to keep it on, tell them, mind your business. This is my life. So just remember that those things are going on. We have to protect ourselves. And before anything, remember that you put the God of your understanding in front of you, behind you, and surrounding you, and you'll be safe. And then this, I'm so thankful to you all for listening, and see you next week. Thank you for being at Access Wealth Nation.
She was told that she couldn't play with the boys. She was told that they were too big, too rough, too strong. She was told to give up her dreams and move on. She was told to just be pretty, be quiet, be a lady. She was told that women had to stay on their side of the court, stay in your lane. Playing and competing with men was insane. She was told that men and women would never be equal. Dreaming like that would only be linked to your mind, to your soul. She never listened. She knew that their thinking was old. She is magic. She is the definition of spirit. She is what champions are made of. She is magic.